Greetings, my dear seekers of truth. We have journeyed far together. We have explored the 7 principles of the Kybalion, touched the emerald tablet of Hermes, and realized that the world is but a mental hologram. But today the time has come to ask the ultimate question. From whence did this knowledge originally come to Earth? Who was the first teacher who imparted the keys to creation to humanity? Let us transport ourselves back 6,500 years. Mesopotamia, the land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. Here, amidst the sun-scorched sands, a civilization of Sumerians erupts quite literally from nowhere. And when I say from nowhere, I am not exaggerating. Historians have no answer to the question of who the ancestors of the Sumerians were, or where they acquired their knowledge. Civilizations typically develop over millennia, from the stone axe to the bronze axe, from nomadic life to cities. But the Sumerians appeared on the historical stage already equipped with cities, irrigation systems, complex jurisprudence, and incredible scientific knowledge. They had no period of apprenticeship. They immediately reached the pinnacle of their power. Imagine 4,500 years BCE. Around you are wild tribes, barely having mastered agriculture. And suddenly, immense ziggurats reaching for the sky, libraries with thousands of clay tablets, and a state structure that modern Europe would envy. Where did this abrupt leap come from? Evolution does not work this way. Anthropologists are baffled. Linguistically, the Sumerian language bears no resemblance to any other language on the planet. It is an isolate. It emerged as a complete system, as if someone simply pressed the start button and uploaded a finished culture into this region. And the Sumerians themselves never attributed these achievements to themselves. They stated plainly, all that we know, the Anunnaki gave us, those who descended from the heavens to earth. And if you think these are merely the tales of ancient shepherds, look at their mathematics. We use the decimal system because we have 10 fingers. But the Sumerians used a sexagesimal system. It is from them that we inherited the division of a circle into 360 degrees, an hour into 60 minutes, and a minute into 60 seconds. Why 60? This number possesses unique properties in sacred geometry. Remember the principle of vibration from our previous videos? The sexagemal system perfectly describes the harmonic oscillations of the universe, but the most astonishing aspect is their astronomy. Sumerian clay seals, over 5,000 years old, depict our solar system, and at its center is the sun, not the earth. Officially, science arrived at heliocentrism only thousands of years later, in the time of Copernicus. But that is not all. On CLVA/243, all the planets are clearly visible, including Uranus and Neptune. Uranus was discovered in 1781, Neptune in 1846. How could the Sumerians have known of their existence, color, and size without telescopes? They had only one answer. They were told by those who had seen these planets from space. The Sumerian script, cuneiform, appeared suddenly. These were not drawings of animals that gradually transformed into symbols. It was an abstract, incredibly complex system for conveying meaning. Thousands of signs, allowing for the description of not only grain taxes but also philosophical concepts of creation. Remember how in the video about Hermes we spoke of the word, or logos, as the primordial basis of reality? The Sumerians understood this literally. They believed in the existence of Me, divine laws or programs that govern the world. He who possessed the tablets of Me possessed the very fabric of reality. Their metallurgy was incredible. They knew the secrets of casting, gilding, and creating alloys that require temperatures of thousands of degrees. Where did the wood come from in a treeless desert for such furnaces? Or perhaps their technologies did not require wood. Zechariah Sitchin, in his book The 12th Planet, argues that the Sumerian gods were not figments of imagination. They were beings of flesh and blood, possessing technologies we would today call highly advanced. They did not perform miracles through magic. They used science.
Let us recall the Kybalion. All is mind. The Sumerians believed that their entire civilization was a project sent from above. The hierarchy of governance was clear. Gods, their earthly representatives, kings, and the people. And this model of world governance has changed little over the past 6,000 years. The central text of Sumerian cosmology is the Enuma Elish. Official science calls it a creation myth, but if read through the eyes of a modern astrophysicist, a picture of a grand cosmic catastrophe that shaped our solar system unfolds before us. It speaks of Tiamat, a colossal planet that existed between Mars and Jupiter, and of an intruder named Marduk entering our system. A celestial battle ensued. The collision of these objects led to the destruction of Tiamat. One half of Tiamat was shattered, forming the asteroid belt, the bracelet of hammered metal in Sumerian texts, and the other half, receiving a powerful blow, shifted to a new orbit and became our Earth. This is why Earth has the vast depression of the Pacific Ocean like a torn piece of the planet's flesh. Along with Earth, water and the seeds of life also arrived in this region. This explains why Earth's geological composition is so heterogeneous. We are a fragment of something far more majestic. And those who recorded this text were clearly observing the process not from the surface of Earth. The connection to Hermes here is evident. The principle of analogy, as above, so below. The cosmic battle of planets is reflected in the battles of humans. The macrocosm influences the microcosm. The Sumerians knew that Earth's history is inextricably linked to the history of the cosmos. So, who are the Anunnaki? Literally, the word means those who descended from the heavens to Earth. There were many of them in the Sumerian pantheon. But the 7 great gods who dictated destinies played a key role. These were not disembodied spirits. The Sumerians depicted them as tall beings in strange attire, often with wings, a symbol of flight, and holding peculiar objects, bags, and watches on their wrists. Modern researchers see these as technological devices, portable computers or life support systems. The supreme god was Anu, ruler of the heavens, but the affairs on Earth were managed by his 2 sons, Enlil and Enki, and it is within their conflict that lies the secret of our origin and all our present troubles. Enlil, a stern administrator, god of air and order, he viewed humans merely as tools, as labor. Enki, however, was the god of wisdom, water, and genetics. It was he, according to the texts, who was the creator of humanity. Does this remind you of anything? Enki is the archetype of Prometheus, who gifted fire, and the archetype of the serpent in the Garden of Eden, who bestowed knowledge. The Anunnaki were not gods in a religious sense. They were our elder brothers, the colonizers. Here we cannot fail to mention Zecharia Sitchin. This man dedicated his life to translating Sumerian tablets and proposed a theory that shocked the world. He claimed that the Anunnaki came from the 12th planet in our system, Nibiru. Nibiru follows an elongated elliptical orbit and returns to the sun once every 3,600 years. According to Sitchin, about 450,000 years ago, the Anunnaki arrived on Earth in search of gold. No, not for adornment. They needed gold to save the atmosphere of their own planet. They established bases in Mesopotamia, and the gold was mined in the mines of South Africa. And archaeology confirms, mines over 100,000 years old have been found in Africa. Who could have extracted ore there on an industrial scale in those times? The work in the mines was arduous. The lesser gods, the Igigi, staged a revolt. And then Enki proposed a solution to create a primitive worker who would take on this burden. Thus began the project to create man. Sitchin asserts that Nibiru is not just a planet but the key to understanding the cycles of Earth's history. Each time it approaches, Earth experiences either great cataclysms or great leaps in knowledge. The conflict between Enlil and Enki is the conflict of 2 approaches to humanity. Enlil wanted to keep us in check like cattle. Enki, however, loving his creation, endowed us with a spark of divine intellect and the ability to procreate.
Sumerian texts describe how Enki secretly taught the first humans crafts and sciences. He passed on to them those very ME which became the foundation of civilization. This was the first transmission of forbidden knowledge. Remember the first principle of the Kybalion, the all is mind? Enki taught humans that they are not merely flesh but carriers of a particle of divine consciousness. He gave us awareness, transforming Lulu the wild man into man the rational. Enlil was furious. He believed humans had become too noisy and disobedient. This would later culminate in the story of the Great Flood, where Enlil decided to destroy humanity and Enki saved it by warning the Sumerian Noah, Ziosudra. This drama unfolded over millennia, and we still carry within us the consequences of this conflict. The yearning for freedom and knowledge, Enki's path, and the need for hierarchy and submission, Enlil's path. The most shocking aspect of the Sumerian tablets is the description of the process of human creation. It does not speak of creation from earthly dust in a magical sense. It describes a laboratory process. Enki and his sister Ninhursag mixed earthly basis, the DNA of a hominid inhabiting Earth, with divine essence, the DNA of the Anunnaki themselves. The texts mention vessels, purification of blood, clay that matures in the womb. Today we call this in vitro fertilization and genetic engineering. The Sumerians called it the creation of Lulu Amelu, the mixed being. We are hybrids. Within our DNA are blocked colossal potentials that our creators chose to leave dormant. Look at modern genetics. Scientists find so-called junk DNA in our genome whose purpose is unknown. What if this is precisely that blocked Anunnaki code? The key to immortality and the manipulation of reality that Hermes spoke of. In our image and likeness, this phrase from the Bible is taken directly from Sumerian chronicles. We resemble them not only in appearance but also in the potential of our intellect. And our entire history is an attempt to remember our divine nature. The Sumerians built ziggurats, enormous stepped pyramids, but these were not temples for prayer in our understanding. They were homes of the gods, places where the heavens connected with the earth. Eridu, the first city on earth founded by Enki himself. The Sumerians believed it was the headquarters of their creator. Ziggurats served not only as observatories but perhaps as communication hubs. The walls of these structures were glazed, and at their summits were chambers accessible only to the highest priests. There, the very tablets of destiny were kept. Technologies that allowed the gods to travel between worlds and command the elements. Why don't we find these machines today? The answer is simple: gold and rare metals. The Anunnaki left nothing behind carelessly. When they departed Earth or retreated into the shadows, they took their tools, leaving us only instructions in the form of myths and rituals, but they left us the geometry of cities. Every Sumerian city was built in strict accordance with celestial coordinates. As if the Earth were a mirror of the heavens, the principle of correspondence again, as above, so below. When the Sumerian civilization began to wane, its knowledge did not vanish. It flowed into Akkad, Babylon, and of course Egypt. Many researchers are convinced that the Egyptian god Thoth is none other than the Sumerian god Ningishitha, son of Enki. Thoth, also known as Hermes Trismegistus, brought Sumerian wisdom to the banks of the Nile. This is why in the Emerald Tablet we see the same truths that were inscribed on clay 2,000 years prior. The connection between Sumer and Egypt is not merely trade, it is the transmission of a unified archive of knowledge. Knowledge of how matter is structured, how the mind works, and who is truly in charge of this planet. If you compare Sumerian symbols and early Egyptian hieroglyphs, you will find a striking similarity in concepts. The winged disc, the serpent entwined around a staff, the caduceus. All of this originates in the laboratories of Enki. We have studied the Kabbalion as a Greco-Egyptian teaching. But now you see the roots, they run deep into the soil of Mesopotamia, to those who came from the stars.
Official science still labels all of this alternative history. Archaeologists say the Sumerians were simply very talented. But does talent explain knowledge of the Earth's axial precession? A cycle of 25,920 years. To calculate this cycle requires observations spanning thousands of years and perfect mathematics. The Sumerians did not have thousands of years before this knowledge appeared. They possessed it from day one. Why then is the truth hidden? Because acknowledging the fact of external intervention in human evolution would shatter all modern institutions of power, religion, and science. It would be an admission that we are the product of advanced technology, not random mutation. But you cannot hide a secret forever. Clay tablets do not lie. They lie in British museums, thousands of them, and many have not even been translated yet. What else is concealed within these texts? Perhaps there is information about when the Anunnaki will return. Or that they never left, but merely changed their form of presence, observing their experiment from behind the scenes of world politics. Recent discoveries confirm the validity of alternative historians. Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, a temple complex 12,000 years old. This is long before the official advent of agriculture. Göbekli Tepe proves that a highly developed culture existed on Earth even before the Great Flood. And the symbolism of this complex strangely echoes Sumerian motifs. The same bags of the gods. The same depictions of animals that would later become constellations. The puzzle is coming together. There was a unified civilization, governed by gods. After a cataclysm, it was rebooted in Sumer. We are the inheritors of this grand and unsettling history. Knowledge of the Anunnaki is not mere curiosity. It is an understanding of our own value. We are not insignificant beings who arose from mud. Within each of us flows the blood of star travelers, and we possess a mind capable of grasping the laws of the universe. But the story of the Sumerians is only the beginning. In the next video, we will journey even deeper into the past. We will unravel the mystery of Göbekli Tepe and attempt to understand, was the flood a punishment or a system reset? And did Atlantis truly exist, or was it merely another name for an Anunnaki colony? Subscribe to Forbidden Knowledge. Click the bell so you don't miss the next chapter of our true history. And remember, the truth has always been near. It was simply waiting for you to be ready to hear it. Until we meet again in the depths of ages.